The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
Here at the NWCA convention, talking a little Division III now with Quack, Mr. Coach. Joe Favia, head coach of Stevens Institute of Technology, a.k.a. Stevens Tech. Joe, convention time. This is a big thing for every coach, but especially at the Division III level.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to get down here with a whole bunch of other coaches, and for us, I think that the reason why I came down here and my staff was to learn from everybody else around here, but really talk about how we're allocating our national qualifiers and things like that. So I'm excited to get in there for that meeting tomorrow when all the D3 coaches get together.
Yeah, it's a knockdown drag out. I've been in the Division I meeting and I've been in Division III, and I think Division II is they're talking about more qualifiers there. So those meetings are always crazy with the coaches. Before we even get to the actual aspect of coaching, big news for Stevens Tech. You bring on Scott Del Vecchio as an assistant, joining you at Tony. What's it like to bring on a D1 All-American at a Division III school?
I mean, it's great for our program. It's great for the PR that we're getting with it and stuff like that. But for us, I mean, I personally I don't see a difference in it. You know what I'm saying? It's wrestling at the highest level is wrestling. So there's only one thing on one way that we do things, and that's the right way. And we want to continue to build our program and compete for a national championship. And to do that, we need to bring in high level coaches, guys to come in and compete with our Staniches and
guys are hammered, by the way.
And Brett and Dylan and Barai and those lightweights that are we're already top in the country, but we need to keep getting better, because we haven't won a national championship yet. So it was awesome to bring Scott in and keep him local, and he had some other opportunities on the table, but he believed in our process and believes in what we're trying to do, and he wants to help us win. So what's the difference between Division I and Division III? We got some hammers in the room that he can train with. So we're happy to bring him on board. So
that's the mindset because in New Jersey, it used to be, okay, we got Princeton, Rutgers, and Rider in Division I. And,
right.
For years, Rider was the best performing team out of all of them. Then you see the money that they put into Rutgers. You see what Princeton's been doing with Chris Ayers. And then, John Hange taking over for Gary Taylor. Division I programs are rising in New Jersey, but so are Division III. It's no longer what used to be Trenton State, now TCNJ. Centenary made a run. You guys are right there. So how are you going? And Johnson & Wales is cherry-picking Jersey guys left and right. So when you're coming to recruiting a guy to a school like Stevens with its great academic profile, its proximity to the city, and I mean New York City for those who are wondering, you're across the river in Hoboken, how aggressive can you recruit and how responsive are the kids that how much do they know about Stevens Tech and how much do you have to try to educate them on the Division III experience?
Well, we got to do a couple of different things. Our school was started as an engineering program, so we're constantly letting people know that we're a lot more than that. It's Stevens University. We have a lot of different majors in there. Our business major is at times from year to year more competitive than our engineering program now. So we're educating people on what we have, what we can provide our graduates, talking about our job placement and things like that. But I think what people don't really understand about our program is that we have one of the toughest acceptance rates in the country. It's very, very competitive for us to get kids into the school.
How many students is it?
We're at about 3,000 undergrad.
Okay,
yeah. So
it's great campus too. I was there when Mike Clayton was the coach there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys wrestled at the Grapple the Garden. I came over and had lunch before you left, and we're taking the bus through campus. Like, wow! The view of the city right across is just like, it's a spectacular little campus.
It's unbelievable to be able to be that close to the city and have that view is almost better than being in the city and looking around.
For the sales pitch either.
Yeah.
I've been there. I'm like, wow, this is like.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice. So that's an easy sell, but we got to get them on campus. We got to show them around, and we got to get them to buy into our system and what we have going on. So. To convince them to wrestle for our program instead of, the schools that we recruit against, which are, Columbia, Princeton, Harvard, Lehigh. Those are the type of kids that we're going after. And we're convincing them to be with our program because we have a realistic opportunity to win a national championship now. And they could be a part of that. 4 or 5 years ago, I was selling a pipe dream. To bring kids in and help me, win a national championship here. It's, much more like we're in the position to win a national championship. Do you want to be a part of it? you want to be a part of it because it's inevitable that we're going to win a national championship. There's 26 guys in my room who have no doubt in their mind that we're going to do what's necessary to win a national championship. So you get people fired up on that, and we bring them in, and we're starting to get more and more recruits through the door every year. Quality recruits. It's not about numbers for us. It's about bringing the right kids in that fit our mold, and that's why we're having success because it's year after year we're finding the right kids, which is challenging, right? Because it's academic first. So we're not going out to Fargo and watching thousands of matches because we can see kids that are like, hey, yeah, you got some really good talent, but if you don't have the test score requirements to get into our school, then the conversation's not really going very much further. So we got to do our homework before that. If we have the right kids, then we'll go to those big tournaments to watch them and support them and learn more about them. But it's much more we got to do our homework on the backside before we're really diving into what they can provide us on the wrestling mat. So at Stevens, we need the multi-phased student athlete who wants to win in the wrestling room, wants to win in the classroom, wants to be involved in the community, and isn't scared of the challenges that are going to lie ahead of that because there's a lot.
You mentioned Fargo. One of the amusing things about one of your former athletes, A.J. Coal from Ohio, was a double finalist in Fargo.
Yep.
And I remember reading through the bios that he's going to Stevens Tech. Yeah. It was like kids' ACT score was like crazy. I'm talking with my nieces and nephews about what their ACT score needs to be to go to certain places. I'm like, yeah, just follow that guy. So I guess what's it the Privacy Act. I'm not going to say what his ACT score was. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
And that guy chose a school that had wrestling, not wrestling to then pick the school. I mean, he's definition of a student athlete. So I want to circle back to your start in coaching. You Mike Clayton was a coach there, and then was going to take a job at USA Wrestling, and all of a sudden, well, here's his keys. It was a weird situation, and you were eventually applying for a position. How soon did you want to be a head coach? And that whole scenario with you and one of your teammates, both assistants, applying for the job. I mean, that situation had to be a little trying.
Yeah, it was an interesting time in my career. I had, after my time at the University of Iowa, I would come back and go to Stevens, and then once I graduated, still competing on the senior level and wrestling for the Scarlet Knights, and then I was actually at the Naval Academy getting ready for the U.S. Open when our AD gave me a call and said that Mike was taking another job and asked me to come in for the interim. Mind you, we're a week before the conference championship.
This is February.
Yeah, of 2014. So I came in and helped as much as I could, and then when they opened the job up for a national search, it was. You come down to that time where it's a tough decision. I was only 24 years old. I was, from what I'm told, the youngest NCAA head coach ever. I don't know, 24 years old.
Pat Pecora has been at UPJ 40-something years. He started at 22.
Yeah, so it's like crazy, to be at that age and try to figure out if you want to get into a real job, where you're coaching, or do I want to keep trying to fight for that dream of, competing for myself. But I got a lot of support from Mike Duro, who's been always just a huge mentor in my career and very supportive that these opportunities don't usually come around very often. A lot of belief in my ability to take a program to the next level and that I can rally the troops behind me. And it was just honestly the right place at the right time. But then I applied for the job and took over and, we've just been I've been trying to just surround myself with the right people, the right people who believe in my vision and having Anthony Bonaventura standing right behind me is just an unbelievable blessing. He's been with me for 3 years now, and it's no coincidence that, in the last 3 years we were 10-8-4, in the country. It's because I have a good support system and we believe in one another, and our guys believe in us and we believe in them, and now we're just keep building, and now we're bringing in Del Vecchio, and it's just we're trying to ride the wave, if you will, and just keep building and putting the right people in there. But it was a crazy journey, but just sticking to our philosophies of always doing one more and always being a good man and doing the right things, and good things will come from that. So,
is there a stigma about coaching in regards to if you feel like you start as Division III level, you're going to be stuck in Division III? I mean, do you have higher aspirations of eventually being a Division II, Division I coach, or are you very happy being a Division III coach?
Yeah, I guess I get this question often, especially from parents.
It's also different because this is your alma mater. So
right.
a lot of it's one thing we see in wrestling is a lot of people are coaching where they went to college.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that in college basketball as much,
right.
Especially Division I. You might see Division III, but maybe it's unique to the division.
Yeah, I approach it the same way as like I mentioned before about us bringing Del Vecchio, a D1 All-American, into a Division III program. I don't. For me, competition is competition, and there's only one way to do things, and that's the right way. There's only one way to train, that's the right way. I do my best to run a Division I environment where we are at Stevens, from my experiences that I had personally. So as when it comes down to coaching, I don't know that I'm necessarily, out hunting for a Division I coaching job. I feel like if I'm doing the right things and building our program and creating good men in the wrestling room, then other opportunities will knock on the door, and if they're right for me at that time, then we'll see where we are. But I love what I'm doing. I have a goal for our team at Stevens and for some of the individuals who I have on the team right now, and I want to see that through. I want to have the success that I know that we can have there. So I'm head down and just grinding away at what we're doing right now. I'm not, actively looking for anything. I'm just focused on what I'm trying to get done here, and that's my mindset right now. I got to give everything that I have to the individuals who I have on this team and the university that has represented me so well, and who now I'm trying to do right by them too. So it's just work.
I'm not familiar with the athletic profile of Stevens Tech, so in terms of the success of all the other sports on campus, but what is the administration's goal for the wrestling program? Is it just put out good student athletes? Is it win? I mean, how important is winning to your administration? And, what benchmarks do they set for you at Stevens specifically?
I think that our university is very much focused on our academics. That's our number one goal. Now, that being said, we have 26 varsity sports teams at Stevens, which is a huge number of varsity programs for only having 3,000 undergraduate students. And that being said,
can't throw a rock and hit an athlete.
Right. So I think that we finished this year 13th in the Directors' Cup, which is a ranking for all the Division III programs. So that's pretty good. Our men's volleyball team is always top 4, top 5 in the country, just like we have been for the last couple of years. So we want to have success in everything that we do. I think that's our main focus. Our athletic director, who we have now, is the one who brought Stevens back, to Stevens in 2004.
Yeah, 04, because they dropped it in, 92?
Yeah, it was like late 80s, early 90s that they dropped the program. And then
it's still a relatively new program.
Right. And then Russ Rogers brought our program back, and he's still our athletic director. So, I mean, we have, from the wrestling standpoint, we have a tremendous amount of support. We have, hands down, one of the best facilities in Division III, maybe, even better than some of the Division I programs in the country. Unbelievable facility for our wrestling room for these guys to come in and train at. So his support is always there for us. He wants to see us do well. He always calls us the team that has come back and that he brought back. So he takes a lot of pride in it. And I'm the only alumni at Stevens running the program there.
Really?
There's no other alumni head coaches, so that makes me feel good. Like, he's got a little bit more support in what we're doing there. So it feels good. It feels right. And heck, I think that if we're winning national championships, nobody's going to complain about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you've talked about winning national championships, and only 2 programs since the mid-'90s have done that, Augsburg and Wartburg, and your school doesn't have a Berg at the end of it. Mm-hmm. So maybe Heidelberg's holding out hope that they can win that. But I guess this question comes up to every coach that says they want to win a Division III title. What's it going to take to knock off both of those teams? Because usually if one's first, the other's second. There's been some years where Augsburg's not been second, but you got to go through those 2 programs to do it. Yeah,
and we know it, and heck, everybody knows it. You know what I'm saying? So we're ready to go. We understand that it's a tall task, but we're focused on what we're doing, and we believe that it's not necessarily going to be qualifying 10 guys for the national tournament, but it's about putting the guys who we put there at the top of the podium. Or in those top 4, top 3 places. Troy Stanich is an unbelievable example of that this year, and Brett Kellner too. Troy lost in the first round of the tournament this year
as a high seed,
as the number one seed in the tournament. But what people kind of don't really pay attention to is the fact that Troy teched or pinned his next 5 guys in a row, including the guy that he lost to in the first round. So when you put Troy's points together for coming back for third place, he scored more points than our national finalists. So that's what's going to win a national title. It's not always having these guys, sending 10 guys and getting 10 on the podium. That's tall. That's a tall task, and if you do that, that's great. But
it's rare.
That's very rare. But we preach to our guys, everybody on our team. Your goal is to win a national championship. From the worst guy in the room to the best guy in the room, it's to win a national championship. And that's some guys fighting for others. But if you don't win a national championship, this is what we learned in Iowa. You take the next best thing, and Gilman, who's a really close friend of mine. I mean, Thomas showed it that his senior year. I don't care that I lost. It's over now. That's behind me. I'll dwell on that later, but I got to get the next best thing. And that's what we're preaching to our guys. If you get knocked off the rails, get back on the rails and do what you can to help us win a national championship. And that was motivation every single time Troy went back out on the mat. We talked every time before he stepped on the mat. It's not about you. It's about us now. So go out and get us some bonus points. And he was perfectly capable of doing that. 3 pins and 2 techs in the national tournament in the wrestlebacks. I mean, that's unbelievable. But that's the mentality that we talk about, and Brett being a true freshman in the national finals, Dylan Van Sickle being there, and Pac, even though he blew his knee out in the quarterfinals, scoring points for us, Dylan scoring points for us, losing in the round of 12, Zach Wilhelm taking 4th in the country. There's big points. So it's about getting the guys to the national tournament and making sure that they're scoring points, getting to the top side of the podium, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may. And if you go head to head with Augsburg or Wartburg, you better put them down. That's the mentality. So,
and you bring up Stanich, and I've been going to the Division III tournament since 2009, and I think every year but one, there's been a 1 seed losing the first round. And I was wondering, who's it going to be? And right out of the chute, 125.
Yep.
Right out of the chute, 133. We were like, and now as a coach, one, that's got to rip your heart out because this kid was probably the best guy in the weight class. Yep. And especially in your perspective, he's probably the best guy in the weight class. Then
I think everybody knows.
How do you? I mean, you've explained how you kind of set him straight, but how do you recover from a moment like that? Knowing, was it something I did? Do you second guess yourself when upsets happen? Who do you try to blame, or who do you try to figure out what went wrong with your own self?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, day one at the national tournament this year, if you would have asked me when day one was over if we were going to place top 4, I would have said no way.
You guys were 15th after day one or something?
And I mean, we had Troy go down, we had Pac blow his knee out, and he needed to win, he was winning that match, we were in a tough spot, but you just stay true to what you believe in, and you just stick your head down, and you just keep motivating these guys. And I had to preach to myself what I preach to them all the time. We got to get back on our feet and take the next best thing. And full disclosure, I pulled Coach DeRoe over to the side, and if he's not a vision of strength, I don't know what was at the national tournament, with his mask on. And I went over to him and I asked him for help. I said, Coach, what the heck am I supposed to be doing here? We got our best guys going down. I got a guy blow his knee out. I mean, we're supposed to be fighting for a national championship here. How do you bounce back from this? So, I'm always looking to people who I know are much, much better than me at what I'm doing to reflect on and get help from. And, he was a pillar of strength for me at that time. Heck, he's been a pillar of strength for me, for as long as I can remember. So, leaning on him a little bit and falling back on our philosophies and what we know are right. And things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to work out. We're going to hit some speed bumps in the road, but we're going to learn from these and we're going to be stronger. So, it was a tough first day, but, day 2 we got back on our feet and, we got the job done to the best of our ability.
Circling back to the convention here, what's the one thing that you like to take away from the interaction with coaches from all divisions or the speaking panel sessions, whether it's the NCAA meetings or, being able to work with other people that have gone through the Leadership Academy or even, like Bruce Haberly's walking by, one of your rivals from NYU. I mean, there's more of a familiar, bond with the coaches in Division III, but when you're here with all the coaches, what do you get out of this the most?
You know what? I like the ability to be here with coaches from other divisions mostly because it makes us all feel, and what I'm always telling myself, that we're all equals, and to be in different meetings with them, and even to go and sit in on some of the Division I meetings, like the selection committee, I went in and sat in on that. and to hear them ask questions, you know, in nutritional meetings, and I'm like, you know, like those are things that we're talking about too. You know, like it helps us. It helps me feel like we're all on an equal playing field. You know, Tom Ryan has similar questions that I have questions about my team or how we're developing, and you know, to hear you know, these coaches talk about how they're, you know, trying to generate big crowds, and it might be on a different scale from what we're dealing with at Stevens as far as numbers of people we're trying to bring in, but we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to grow the sport. We're trying to help one another get a little bit better. You know, and it kind of takes the I guess I could say like the competition out of it, because we all want to be better at this point right now. We want to help each other grow. We want to help each other get better. And then when November starts, we'll compete with each other and we'll bang heads. But this is a time right now for, you know, each team, no matter the division, no matter where you're from, for you to help your peer get better, so that way we can grow the sport and you know, help draw more people to it. That's what's most important.
StevensDucks.com. Where are you guys at on social media for those who want to follow?
Everything is Ducks Wrestling. Yeah, for the most part, Ducks_wrestling, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, you could find us all right there.
Actually, on Twitter, it's not. As I'm searching right now,
yeah.
Let's go. Stevens Wrestling. Let's see what come out.
It should be Ducks Wrestling.
Let's see if that's the thing. It's like I need to. Let's see. Stevens Tech Wrestling. This is how we do it. Where did it go? Maybe
you're looking for it right now?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up on my phone.
Because I'm making sure that we get the old hashtag right.
Yeah.
At Stevens. Yeah, at Duck Wrestling, no underscore.
Oh, yep.
So, yeah, at Duck Wrestling.
As you could tell, Anthony is the one who runs our social media account. I'm not a big social media
guy. Though. But anyway, all right. Joe Favia, again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for educating us about the program. And, quack.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
The Short Time Wrestling Podcast is proudly outfitted by Compound Clothing. Shirts, singlets, custom gear orders, everything you need. Call up Cliff and the crew at cmpteamwear.com. First time listening? Well, you can change that by going to mattalkonline.com/getshorttime to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or listen on your favorite podcatcher at mattalkonline.com/listen.
This show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to mattalkonline.com.